Hello and welcome to the Angular live stream where we game, we hang out. I am one of your hosts, Mark Thompson, and I am here with the other phenomenal host, I guess, to this side of me,
Yep, I'm on that
Mr.
side of you. I'm Jeremy.
Mr. Jeremy Upborn in the building. Jeremy, what's been going on since our last live stream?
Oh, a lot. Do we have any major releases, Mark?
I think we did have a release. I think it was like what, like 14 or something like that?
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was maybe the biggest release we've had in a long time.
It was jam packed with we jam packed that thing to the gills with like two flagship features, multiple significant updates, right? Like it was just so many things. It felt like Angular like gift giving season because we gave the community so many great things. So good. How do you feel now that the release is out in the wild?
Good. Still a lot to do. Like we're already in the planning stages of version 15, so
Of
it never
course,
it never stops. It never
of
stops.
course. Wait, let me adjust my camera angle a little bit there. There we go. Now I'm no longer cut off. Yeah, version 15, we're always thinking about the next thing. But this makes sense though, right? Because if you think about like phone manufacturers, right? Like Apple releases a phone every year, we release a phone every year. But I think for Apple, they probably like it's so people are working on the iPhone like 15 and 16 right now. Right, even though the
Hmm.
14 hasn't been released, they're already thinking about what's next. Just like us, we're thinking about what's next. We're thinking about what the community, the value they're getting currently from what we've made, and then what comes on after. So,
Yeah,
yeah, looking very
it's a
good,
long
looking good.
pipeline.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's say hi to some people. All right, we got Sweet Nanta. Good to see you. The faithful Michael Faith, no pun intended, but you're always supporting the stream. So thank you for that. Angular is getting better and better. Yes, it is, and thank you for noticing. That's great. We got Inea, always here. Thank you for coming. Andres in the building. I'm doing good.
Yeah,
Jeremy, how are you feeling overall?
I feel
Feeling good?
good. I just beat Tunic last
Did you
night.
figure out the secret language?
So, have you played it? How far are you?
I'm not. I haven't played it at all, but I know that that's. I saw a news article where someone said like, the joy that they got out of that game was finally figuring out the secret language.
Okay. So, I there is kind of a secret language to the game. I'm not going to say anything because they're just massive spoilers, but what I will say
Okay.
is there is a puzzle in this game, and it is
Mm-hmm.
the biggest, grandest puzzle I have ever seen in a game. And it took me about probably like 3 hours just sitting down with like notepad and pen,
Just
just
trying to
working
figure it
through it.
out.
Hmm. And I
What?
finally got it, beat the game. It's a great ride. But that's not what we're playing today.
But that reminds me of when I played Silent Hill for the first time as a teen, like in the early teen on PS1, and I remember there was a piano puzzle, and it was like crows that were like above and below the power line flying in the sky, and I'm like, are those the white and black keys? And I remember like drawing it on paper, like I
Hmm.
think that's what this is meaning. And so when you say you wrote it down, that was one time I used pen and paper for a video game, and then the other time was Mass Effect One. You can't keep track of the planets. They didn't have a system for you to keep track of the planets you visited. And I remember
Hmm.
having to write down, like, oh, I've been there. I've mined this planet already. Like, don't do that one again because you have no way
Yeah.
to know where you've been. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
We should
Oh,
start with
yeah.
this question, Jeremy.
Favorite new feature in version 14? Obviously, the inject function being usable in component constructors.
Yeah.
I've been I've been asking for that feature for years.
Sure, sure. No, that's great, great. I think for me, I'm really excited about what. I know everybody's gonna say this, like, "Oh yeah, man, standalone components is everything," which is true. But I just got really thrilled when I tried a new style of like writing an app with standalone components, and I did like inline template and inline style, and I tried to make a full application like that. And I had a lot of success, so that was exciting. But then I had a lot of trouble because when my template got so big, I didn't want to abandon the idea that I could do it all in one file. But then it just like I got diminishing returns at the size of my template, and so I'm gonna, as people are gonna say, oh, make it like React, single file components for everything. I'm like, I don't think you really want that. Like, I think that's messier once your component template gets too big. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, I do want to know, who is this character you were voicing when you were talking
Oh,
about standalone components?
oh, this character. So, I actually stole this idea from Jim Gaffigan. So Jim Gaffigan has that second voice, where he does like the high pitched one, and I love that. We need to eat something. We should just eat. He does that thing, and I love Jim Gaffigan as a comedian. I think he's very talented. He's made the most out of that too. Like he took that voice all the way to the bank, right? Like in his whole like vibe. So, Ivan, good to see you. Listen, Sadarov, you are awesome. We are glad to have you. So thank you, Jeremy. You're already sharing. Let me share. Let me add you to the stream.
Yeah,
There we go.
I already got one step ahead of you.
Let's go.
Yeah, so people came for gaming. They're gonna get gaming. This is
Yes.
What the Golf. It is an indie game for people who hate golf, and it's just kind of fun. I have already beaten the main campaign, so I'm probably not going to play that. I don't know what's in this adventures thing. I've never done this before, so let's just go do that.
Let's do some adventures. That sounds good.
This is a whole new world. This looks like Donut County. All right, so this is kind of the premise here of like, well, we'll do a thing. Go do that. Okay.
So do you have to hit the pole, the flagstaff, or?
Well, we'll see. Oh, moved out of the way that time. So let's go where it's going to go.
Jeremy, I have an idea for a future game for us. Then there's this one like a pit adventure where it's like plot twist after plot twist as you try to navigate the like platforming. I want to find that game and we can play it.
Okay.
Because like you'll jump across the ledge and then the ledge will fall apart. So you learn to avoid that obstacle, but then something else will happen that you weren't expecting.
All right, this was a more challenging one. Let's see.
Are
I see
there
some
like
more
left and
questions.
right boundaries
Oh yeah, you can
that you
just
get
go
to
like
use?
flying off. Oh look, the holes all move out of the way though.
That's funny. Let's answer some questions. I actually see some good questions here.
Yeah. What do you
First, I
got?
got to acknowledge people. Mr. IQ, thank you for being a part of Angular for 2 years now. Hopefully, you're enjoying yourself and having a great time. So, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. I want to take a stab at this because I'm really trying to get better at my like component and CDK knowledge. And then, Jeremy, you can help clarify anything that I say correct or incorrect. So, what's the difference between CDK dialog and material dialog? All right, I can tell you what the difference is. CDK is our set of primitives. So we have some built-in functionality that you can take advantage of and build your own like UI components with those as a foundation, right? And then material dialog is already like built in the style of material, but I think we use CDK dialog at the core of material dialog.
Yep. So the material dialog is built on top of CDK dialog, and it just adds a little bit of extra material design styling on top, and that's it.
Right. But let's say you didn't want that material design styling, and you had some ideas for a dialogue, but you want to get some of this stuff like accessibility stuff built in. Like when we say primitives, like think about what we're going to give you out of the box with CDK. A lot of stuff that's just really hard to solve, and you have, instead of repeating solving those problems, we kind of give you this list of primitives that you can take advantage already of what has been solved by the team, and then you can extend to make it for your application.
Speaking of out of the box.
Wait, what? Which one is yours?
This is the box.
It doesn't matter? Oh,
No,
shut up.
It's the box.
That's awesome. Okay, I like that. This is just fun, like random stuff.
All right, what do we got here? Oh, on this one, you're the hole.
Okay.
This is
Ah.
a reference to another indie game called Donut County, which I've also played.
Is there any that's funny. They just called it out. Is there any reference to like birdies or like anything, or does it just matter that you get it?
Yeah, there'll be references to things like that. So let's see, what am I? Oh, you know what this is going to be? So this is the way Donut County works: is every time you get something in the hole gets a little bigger. So you have to start off
Interesting.
with small things.
Because you want to suck the house up eventually.
Yep.
Smart.
You get the flowers. Yep. It's a
You
fun
know,
little
Jeremy,
game.
this makes me want to make an indie game,
You know,
and then I
I've thought
remember how
about
much work
that.
it is, and then I want to do it.
It's a lot of work.
Have you have you
Making
ever
games
made
is
a game before?
I've played around a little bit. When I was in college, I took a video game AI course, and that involved making some like relatively simple games just to kind of explore different AI techniques.
Sure.
But I've never really made like a game. I decided early on I didn't want to go into the games industry because it is a nightmare to work in.
Hmm. So I've made 3 games, and none of them are well. One of them might still be downloadable, but you can't get it to run, and I'll never port it over to like a modern like toolkit. I made it in Blitz, so I made one game in Java, like literal Java, using like Swing as my windowing system and just like pixels, and
Mhm.
that was miserable. Reflexive like Portal,
Let's see.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, nice, nice loophole. Ha, that's funny. Then I made a second game. I made a second game which was I made in VR way back before VR was democratized down to like the Quest. You know what I mean? Like this is when you have to have flock of birds tracking, which is like for people at home, flock of birds means that you have all these wires like and things overhead, which like it sensors overhead, which track your movements, not like we have with
Mhm.
modern VR. And so this was like way back in like the early 2000s. I made a VR like SWAT team simulation where you had to navigate this house, and you had to like think Men in Black the movie where he's like they're in a training situation where things pop up, and then he's like, Agent K, why did you shoot the little girl? Right? And then he's like, so I made the opposite of that, where there was there were kids in there, but you weren't supposed to hit them. You're supposed to hit the bad guys, but you have to navigate this house. And then the final game that I made was like a 3D, like third-person shooter, and it worked in 3D, and it was like an arena shooter where you had to survive, like horde mode, but it was like whatever. So I made that game. All this stuff
Speaking
is
of
really
horde
hard.
mode,
How do you? Oh, how many do you have to? How do you know which one is which?
that your inputs just affect all of them.
It doesn't matter. It's just get one.
Yeah, I think you only have to get one in.
But past the holes. All right, let's get to some questions as I'm telling my life story. Um, okay, question from Nath. Why don't we play GTA 5? So our stream is family friendly. So if developers of all ages are watching this, we try to play games that are non-violent, and GTA 5 is definitely not what we're
Peak
looking for. All
violence.
right. It's violence personified. The whole game itself is violence. From our friend Michael Faith, are there any plans to shift material components to be standalone? I asked you this, Jeremy, the other day.
Yeah, Mark pinged me this literally like the day 14 came out.
Yep, yep.
Probably
I did see this.
eventually. We didn't want to do it while standalone components is still in developer preview, obviously. Obviously, we don't want to do any breaking changes. We don't want to interrupt people's products. And so we will probably switch it when things are out of developer preview and we have a migration plan, a migration like schematic for everything.
Yeah. And so friends who may be new to Angular at home, those schematics really help us to help you migrate your applications. And because the thing that we try to stay true to is bringing everyone along with us as we build stuff, right? That's one of our core strengths, and we want to make sure to do that. Oh, wait, what? So okay, so is the goal to get the dog to like fly off that? Wait a minute.
I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, you see what I mean about this game now. It's just kind of goofy.
Hmm. Let's see. And
There we go.
then, wait, did we say hi to Chow earlier? Chow in the building. What's going on? Good to see you. Another fantastic Angular community member. Wait, what was the solution to that one? How did you solve it?
I just had to hit the flag in the center.
Oh, with the ketchup,
Yeah.
with the tomato blood. Got it. All right. Let's see the difference between if we did that. Oh, here's a great question. Green Mercy, I want to know more about what you mean by this, but we're going to try to answer it. But I want to know what you mean. What's the biggest regret while we're developing Angular? Like, do you mean like developing with Angular or when we built it?
I would
Answer
interpret
when
that
you
as
built
building
it.
it.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you asked that because this actually ties into a talk we're currently planning on giving at ngconf, which is something along the lines of Angular, a design review 10 years later, where
Mm,
we look over the last 10 years of Angular and its development and kind of do a long-term retrospective and see what are the things that we are happy with, what are the things that maybe we would have done differently. Off the top of my head, I would say one of the things that we probably would have done differently is the way we use Zone.js to drive change detection. I think that the original intent there was to make it so that change detection just kind of always worked without you having to think about it, but it comes with a lot of trade-offs. And I think over time we've seen that those trade-offs aren't the best fit for the majority of the developers.
it's a good answer. That's a good answer. I wasn't around for those times, so I can't answer it from like what I would have done differently building it because that's not really fair because I'm looking at it from the outside almost like everybody else. Um, I think that one one of the things that I would have done differently in terms of developing with Angular, one of my biggest regrets with learning to develop with Angular was taking too many completed examples when I was first starting and using that to influence my knowledge of how to do Angular as opposed to learning more of the fundamentals of like how the systems work because one of the things I feel like with Angular that is cool is that the parts together also work, right? Like if you understand the parts, like you can still be successful without kind of copying off of Stack Overflow or like looking at a tutorial only and then you know what I mean? Like I think there's just more to the story. How did you just jump over a gap like that midair?
So I got a tennis ball now instead of a golf ball. And there's no, like, you don't have to be, you don't
On
have
the
to stop
ground.
moving before you hit it again.
That's kind of rad, actually. I like that. That's kind of rad. Hey, friends at home, how's the frame rate looking in terms of no, not the kitty, the frame rate in terms of the Jeremy's playing right now? Because it looks great to me, but I can't tell if it's choppy to you all.
What am I trying to
So that's
do
the
here?
hold from the ground. No. Also, we want to know from you what is your favorite feature from Angular version 14. Also, I want to know what did you wish that we had included. All right. I can take this off. Is anybody waiting to? That's messed up. Is anybody waiting to migrate later for some other reason? Like maybe there's something you're waiting for?
There we go.
Dang, those poor pups. The pups just like slunk their way into like that hole. That's messed up.
Downward dog.
All right, what is Angular team? Well, the Angular team is a group of folks who are passionate about building a front-end framework that is primed to support scalable apps and to support scalable teams and support developers all over the world. Thanks so much for asking. When will the new Angular documentation release? We've been talking about updated Angular documentation. Jeremy, you want to
I
say
mean,
anything about that?
it's less of a like big release and more of a just like incremental improvements over time, right? If you go to GitHub, you can see that there are always changes happening to the documentation. So, oh my
That's true.
gosh.
We just had a new change detection guide launch. Did you folks see that? By our very own Miko Getchev released a new change detection guide on Angular.io. Definitely check that out. Ivan asks, are you planning to add a master class on how to use key value differences and iterable differ? Is that TypeScript stuff?
No, that's the thing that makes NG4 work. Um,
Ah, okay.
no, I honestly like iterable differ is one of those things where it's really just intended to be an implementation detail in Angular, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
expect the vast majority of people to ever really touch it, except for people who are doing something like very sophisticated. So, for example, we use iterable differ in the CDK virtual scroll because we have like an alternate version of NG4 called like CDK virtual 4 that virtualizes the list. And it could probably be documented a little bit better for those advanced use cases, but I don't see us making any it more prominent in the doc or creating educational content around it.
Mm. Wait, is this the right? Hold on, I don't trust this. Let me see something. Well, we are thinking about master classes, though, and I don't know if it's that name or not. Oh, the longer
Yeah,
you wait, the worse this gets, because they pick up stuff and get the holes get bigger. Yeah, okay. But we are thinking about master classes, just ways that we can help support the community and teach some cool stuff. We are thinking about that.
yeah. Masterclass is actually like a brand, right? Like that is an actual service called Masterclass.
Right,
So
right. So we're talking about master space class, not master class, all one word. Yeah, not that. We will not be on their website. Good call out. Um, you might see me on their website talking about how to set up your background to have nice colors behind you. Is this actually the game? No, this is not. I almost tagged them. I was gonna tag what the golf, and I'm like, let me make sure this is the game, and it is not. All
no.
right, let's look at some more questions. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right.
All right, so I might have to remove somebody from the stream. I don't want to, but they're spamming us with like questions. Yeah, I might have to let them know they can't stay here. Unfortunately, I'm gonna give you a warning, and then you keep going. We're gonna have to ask you to leave. That's too
Yeah, we
bad.
got this one's a car now.
Oh, cute! Look at that little drift. Yo, let's
Yeah,
go.
see, this is a better racing game than most.
Oh, like imagine the frantic. Jeremy, we should just build this. Imagine the frantic like gameplay you need where it's all slingshot based and you're trying to like do this and there's a bunch of multiplayer and everybody's doing it. This is actually like a fun game mechanic. Um, I could see this on iOS easily or like Android, right? Like a mobile game where you can so where you can pull back and like move your thumb on the screen. All right, let
Yeah.
me answer some more questions.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's a good question from Sahil. Hi, Sahil. What video tutorials do we recommend for deep understanding for back-end developers? Well, Angular's a front-end framework with its VCR. I totally did. Angular is a front-end framework, so for that type of stuff, I'm gonna let the community in the chat answer you. When you folks do have to do back-end coding, what do you use? Help Sahil out if you could.
Yeah. And this might also mean for someone who is traditionally a backend developer, is there content that's good for them for learning Angular?
Oh, that's also a good question. Yeah, that's good. Good thing. Chow
Um,
says, my less hyped favorite feature is the ability to pass injector to ng template outlet or
yes,
create embedded view.
that was another thing
You
I've been
would do
asking
something
for
fancier
years.
about. Love that
So
fancy old answer.
I can tell you, I've been really wanting that, being able to pass the injector for embedded views for so long because it actually made some of the stuff we did in CDK for version 14 possible. So like CDK menu,
Mm.
we had it in experimental for a long time and we didn't work on promoting it to stable until we had that feature. So we could actually make an API that worked well.
Mm. Okay. So let's do this. Let's keep going. We got a lot of questions now. The streets are warming up. All right, people are saying that Angular is dead and makes me really sad, and I really enjoy it. And people hype up, react like crazy. Well, listen, here's a couple of things. Oh, that cute little like side stride with the dog is super cute. Spider pup, spider pup. The puppy party on the rooftop.
Prepare hot dogs.
I was to say, but the hot dogs. That's kind of weird, right? Like,
Wear hot dog costume. Entertain
that's
guests.
funny. Ah, okay. That's where your props are coming. But anyway, back to this. Everything is great, Abu. And think about it like this: people should use what they feel comfortable with. Angular is very much alive because Jeremy and I work on this stuff. Like this is our job, so it's very much alive. You keep building with what you want to build, and you keep letting us know how we can continue to support you, and that's the way to go.
Yeah. It's like, honestly, like we clearly see people like say stuff like this on social media and it's just like anybody who takes literally 20 seconds to go and look knows that it's not true.
Right? It's
Right?
not
Like
true. It's not dead.
GitHub activity, look at job postings, look at like literally any metric by which you would measure this and it doesn't hold up
And
to.
understand what the important metric is, because we could even argue that like people say, well, jQuery's dead, and then you can still get a job for jQuery right now. People are still downloading it right now, and we're not even like saying that we're in that same like position. I'm just telling you that like what does dead mean, right? To you, what does it mean? And and is what people say important at all? Like about you got to ask yourself those questions. Um, All right, Devon with a lot of good questions. Navnath, sorry. I want to learn how Angular works internally, like its internal implementation. The source code, my friend. And I'm gonna give you a really good path for it. I'm gonna give you a really good path for it, and I may even do it myself because this is actually gonna be a great idea. So I want you to take one small part of Angular, not even something super heavy, one small part. Maybe look at how the component decorator, like look at the component decorator and see how we link to the template, right? Or see how it switches between either the template or the inline template. Write a personal blog about how that little part works, right? Like start with something small like that, and then pick another piece, and then pick another tiny piece, and before you know it, you'll start to see all the inner workings, and then you'll like really become like next level. You'll be like S tier Angular developer
I have
because
an
you'll know
easier
it
answer.
so great.
Go
What's that?
go watch a YouTube video of I gave a talk in 2019 called Advancements in Angular, and it's an hour-long talk that talks about a lot of the implementation details of Ivy.
Mm,
So you can
it
also
is easier.
just do that. Oh no.
You panicked. I saw that. All right, English in the house. Oh, let's go. All right. While migrating existing project V8, the latest is very hard to migrate because some packages do not support. Still, we are using V8. Oh, sorry to hear that. Uh, yeah, because we're on 14, so that's 6 versions ahead. So your migration path may be a little bit rougher. But don't try to go. Maybe not try to go straight from 8 to 14. Try to go like maybe 8 to 9, solve problems 9 to 10, and then like kind of get up. Cause is that even like Ivy is the default renderer? It's not even at 8, right? That happened in like V12.
Yeah, so version 8 was the last major version before Ivy became the default.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Let's see. Evening, Shannon. Angler Nation in the house. Well, let's go. Rodwin, we haven't seen you in a bit. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Get some more favorite features. Page titles on route and protected members being available in templates. Those are some like neat
oh yeah.
ones. And I think I think both of these were community contributions, right?
Yeah, the again, the like the protect binding to protected members was something that was on my wish list for a long time, and I'm going to give a shout out to there's a Googler named Zach Elliott who just basically took a day and figured out how to do it with the help of one of our team members, Yost, who
Oh,
you
sure.
know big expert on our compiler and type checking tooling, was able to help him do that. Oh boy, this is a weird one.
Oh. Okay, these graphics are like S tier because they just evoke so much emotion with the animation and stuff. This is so great. Oh, Jeremy, I have an answer for you from like 6 streams ago. We were talking. It's the last time I played a game, which was Celeste, and you said, "What do I get out of the 16-bit graphics that I don't get out of the 8-bit graphics?" And I've
Mhm.
been thinking about that for the pixel art this whole time, and I finally have an answer. When I was a kid, some of the best times of my life were around my Super Nintendo.
Mhm.
So games that remind me of that time because my family was happy, like school was going great, my parents were happy, they were both still like on earth with us. And so that time is very special to me. So retro games from that era that look like that era evoke that feeling for me. That's why I want 16-bit graphics. It's not a performance thing. So that took me some time to think about because I didn't have a good answer when you asked me. And so now I know why I want it. That's why for me I want it. But it
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that we need it. So which is why I spend more time on the SNES virtual console on Switch than I do on the N64 or the NES.
Yeah, that makes sense. Formative time. I think like for me, I like both. I like the NES and the like for most of my childhood I actually had a Sega, but I also played a lot of Super
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo. Both of those were like very formative.
What? Look at that trick. That was nice. You're not standing at the party?
Nah,
Boo.
golf stops for
Boo.
no one. Golf stops for no dog.
But yeah, I get what you're saying though. Like just the time in your life, right? Like where things are happening in formative years. And Sega is funny because my child loves Sega because he loves Sonic. And so the
Hmm.
Sonic movies have enthralled him. Like I've seen Sonic 1 multiple times. We were like day ones to see Sonic 2.
Yeah. So this is all right. We're going wildly off topic of Angular, but like, what is it that kids love about Sonic so much?
His speed for my son. He just loves how fast he is.
Yeah, I saw Sega. They dropped a longer gameplay trailer of Sonic Frontiers, which is supposed to be their like Breath of the Wild Sonic style, like
Oh, it's so
Sonic game that's
bad.
like in the style of Breath of the Wild. And a large part of the community's reaction has just been, "You should delay this. This doesn't look good."
Because it feels flat. I'm not gonna lie to you. It feels
Mhm.
flat. Like there's no like thrill to it. Cause I watched the gameplay and I was like, it's missing some stuff. It's like missing something. But remember, they told Corey Balrog to go back and like fix up God of War 2018, right? Like it's like, nope, this is not ready. Do you got to like make all the holes pop up flag to make it work?
Hopefully, not all of them.
Because I would say you missed a bunch. Boo! I want it to be harder. All right. let's answer some more questions. Oh, this is a good question. Are there some worldwide recognized certifications for Angular? None that we provide.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't really do the whole certification thing. I know some people find value in that, but we just try to focus on having, improving our documentation and supporting community creators who, do stuff on like Egghead and Pluralsight and Udacity, and there's like 100 other things like that.
And more of that content is coming. We have a ton of that content coming. There was a question from Enrique that I did not want to. Enrique Moreno says, "Hi everybody, what's the future of Angular?" There's a blog post that we're gonna link in the chat that talks just that. So, Enrique, this is for you. It is our blog post. Good question. This is a question for Ionic team. Will Angular 14 work with Ionic 6? I believe that it does out the box because I built an Ionic app. Which is great tech, by the way. Their CSS API, well, not CSS, sorry. Their CSS based UI is very nice the way they have it wrapped in components. That is very nice. I actually like I like a lot what they did here.
You have to take a controller
came back
out.
and said, why? To get more precision?
Because it's like it says press A to go in this pipe, and I'm like, well, I don't have. Oh, I see. Yeah, I actually had to just hold it. All right. Well, that just takes me.
I want to learn Angular. Okay. Wait 1 second. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to help say So you are right, Jeremy. He's a .NET developer and wants to learn Angular. Community, please jump in and see if you can let Sahil know what's a good path. This is a great question, man. All these relevant questions are coming up here. When will NG Zone be removed or replaced with a new feature?
I don't think we really have anything to like concrete on that front.
Yeah.
Like for now, Angular, uses zones. Will be continue to be based on zones, and when we have anything like concrete to share on the future direction of that, it'll be on the blog. Mark will be making a video about it.
Yep. I'll be making a video. You'll know. It will not be a secret. It will not. I think I need to set up my second light, and I did not want to do that. But I think I need to set up a second light or set the ISO on this camera because it's so dim all the time. Even though I'm like fully like studio lit right now. But I think it's the camera settings that make the picture so dark. Because I'm like, why does it look so dim in here? Okay, let's keep going. We get a question like this quite often. From Falagoon says, how does one become a part of the Angular team? Well, when we have headcount, like we have job postings, apply. Go through the Google process, apply.
Yeah. And it is like just going through the normal like Google interview process, right? There's not like a special Angular team, like, right? We're part of Google, and it's all part of Google's like standard hiring practices.
All right, I see a question and comment. I wasn't laughing at your response. Somebody said something that's kind of funny. Okay, Snyder Kudra says, what UI library apart from Material would I recommend? Okay, I'm going to tell you something that's really controversial. Modern CSS is really strong these days. I think you just write a couple of like styles, like build out your own little like Sass like tool, like keep it like really minimal. Because if Material isn't what you want, you can't customize. Like identify the things you need, build out a little bit of Sass, and then do it yourself. Like that's what I recommend. But that's controversial because everybody doesn't want to do that. But whenever I build apps for our channel for an app or something, I usually just take the time to write that CSS. And just kind of like use it that way, like create a button, you know what I mean? Like create my like colors, and then I just kind of use it myself that way. What about you, Jeremy? Any recommendations?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with that many of them. I would say though, like I would recommend at least using a UI component library if you are not super experienced with accessibility, because that is one
Good
thing
point.
where a UI component library can often handle things for you that may be difficult to do from scratch.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So I was thinking about more from the styles and not what do you got to get? 4?
6.
Oh, oh, 6. Okay. I was thinking more from the styles more than the. You see what I'm saying? In terms of the like. hmm Yeah, I was thinking styles more, and not like components. But I guess they did say components. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a good question from Avian. Any updates on the Angular roadmap and item entitled Investigate Micro Front End Architecture for Scalable Development Processes? We do have updates, they're just not ready for the roadmap yet, but there are people actively looking into this. Wait, I gotta see this at the same time.
Yeah. The
Yep.
last time I talked to Minko, he's pretty far along and he just needs to kind of like
Yeah.
write up a report, so to
Yep.
speak.
No, investigation is definitely ongoing and active. So don't that's real. That's real in the field. Let's see. This is my favorite question so far. Any idea about Web3? Lots of ideas about Web3. Don't get Jeremy started because you don't want to hear his ideas because then they're not going to be what you hope for. But actually, I do want Jeremy to get started. Uh, but I would tell you what I'm interested in that space, not Web3, but in the blockchain technology space. So when I say that, I mean technologies on the blockchain. I'm not saying Web3. I'm not saying Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. I'm saying blockchain enabled technology. Okay, let me be clear. I think this idea of decentralized identity is interesting. I think this idea of web nodes, which is a way to like have your own personal like distributed data containers that you have access to, and you get to decide who gets access to them, and you control access, where you don't have to put personal data on the blockchain. I think that is interesting, and I think this last idea, which is called verifiable credentials, which I think could really help circumvent some of the fraud issues that we have, where you can verify that a person is who they say they are, digitally. That's really hard to do now, and I think blockchain technology can enable some other ways around that. So that's what I think about blockchain technology. Jeremy, what do you think about blockchain
I mean,
technology?
only if people promise not to like tweet at me about it.
Right. That's right. That's right. Do not attack. There is no attacking
Yeah.
here. Whatever he says,
But yeah,
that's
I
his
like
opinion.
you know, this is maybe controversial for some people, but like I don't actually think it's anything, right? It like the whole like Web3
Mm-hmm.
blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
cryptocurrencies, NFT, it's all nothing, right? It's all people
It's just
trying
like a big
to
nothing burger.
artificially create a financial instrument, and I don't really see any technical value it provides or any real reason for like anything that blockchain as a concept is providing that isn't accomplishable in the technology that was already around before it.
Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on the financial instrument side for sure. That like we throwing houses. That's where we at.
Cryptocurrency.
The financial side I think is problematic for a lot of people because of like just the abuse and the scams that are in the space. Which same thing with traditional financial infrastructure. But just saying, But like I said, the three areas that I mentioned, I'm interested to see what those can do. And if there is a way to do this without blockchain, I think the ideas behind it are what we should pursue, to be honest with you. Like a way for me to control my data and have ownership of my data, like even medical records. Like I want to have my own medical records that I get to, have. Like, why do my contacts live on a third party service, right? Like, I should
But
I should decide who gets access to that, and then it should be
so like
able to be like controlled. Go ahead.
my thought on this is like centralization is inevitable because of the economy of scale of it, right? So like people
Mm-hmm.
love to espouse it's like, oh yeah, blockchain's all like decentralized. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then it gets centralized again in like Coinbase
Right.
because it is really a pain for like a non-sophisticated user to manage like a wallet
Right.
and everything like that, and all of the risks that come with phishing and like especially this whole like this smart contract thing of like how vulnerable to exploits that is, and how people are, people have trained themselves after years of internet use to just like, yeah, accept terms of service, where, that is a
Right. But
challenging
so
thing to do when
what?
you can just run arbitrary code on things you supposedly own.
Now, on the opposite side of that, that's where something like verifiable credentials, I think, is super interesting because right now I look at SSL certificates to prove that I'm entering my data into the website that I think I'm going to. So, how can we get that, SSL certificate like idea, which is accomplished without blockchain? How do we get that idea at like a personal level where if I get a phone call, I can verify that it's not a spoofed SIM from
I mean, is
Germany? You
that
know what I mean? Like,
anything more than just like public private key encryption?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Maybe not, right? So that's why I'm not sold on blockchain being the way to like solve this. I'm sold on some of the concepts that have become like the blockchain's kind of like talking points. I like those concepts, if that makes sense. And so if we can do it without it, fine. I don't really care. I just want verifiable credentials, right? Like I want that infrastructure. I want my medical records. And because before digital centralization, if I had a copy of it, it was in a file, right? And I had control over that, and I had kept it in a safe in my closet. So are we saying that we don't trust people to do that anymore? Maybe we don't. Maybe we are saying that. I don't know. It's just something to think about. I think it's interesting. All right. Half the stream was like not blockchain conversation. This is the Angular stream. They're already
Yeah,
live because they
right.
don't make games. Let's see. Greg. Okay, see, and Alicia, that's all I'm saying. Right? It's just that modern CSS does so much that you don't really need, and then you could take advantage of stuff that's already out there. But if you're like having to do like full, like if you're gonna try to make your own modal dialogues, I'm like, that's okay. So then you're gonna get into a lot of trouble because you gotta make sure that escape works and that focus trapping is appropriate and you can't interact with the background. It's a lot of programming around that. But if you're just like the look and feel, I like that one. Oh, the look and feel, I'm like, yeah, no, I do that myself. Weights, I love that. Oh, I love the physics with how heavy everything is. That's so great. That's so great. Alicia, welcome to the stream. Thanks for hanging out. Which database do you use? I'm a big fan of Firebase and Firestore. That's for me for applications when I built them. If I need database, I love Firebase. But that's before I became a Googler. That's before I became an Angular Googler. I've been a Firebase person for years.
Yeah. Even like if I start do any personal projects, I use Firebase too.
I mean, it's just a good idea. Like before it became a part of Google, it's just a good idea. Not perfect, not for every use case. I think one. I wonder if they'll ever do a relational database for Firebase. But I guess we have Big SQL or Cloud SQL for Google Cloud. So
Yeah, like I think like probably, I'm not in any of these product areas at Google, but my hunch is that, Firebase is positioned as the simpler, more lightweight thing, and then it's like, oh, if you need like the full on enterprise SQL relational database, then GCP is the like brand for you.
wait, we just announced GCP just announced a new database. It's not Apollo DB. Is it Apollo? No, that's not us, is it?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was literally at Google I/O.
I only paid
It's a
attention to your
SQL.
videos at Google I/O.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm going to tell you the name of it because there was a GCP solution that I was like, man, I kind of want to look at this. Alloy DB, not Apollo. Alloy DB. It's for cool. So fully managed Postgres SQL compatible database service offering superior performance, availability, and scale for your demanding enterprise workloads. Pricing is transparent and predictable with no expensive proprietary licensing and no opaque I/O charges. Cool. I might try it out. Oh, Miss Kill, thanks for hanging out. It's the middle of the night. Maybe Jeremy and I will do early morning stream one day for our non-US based audiences. That way people can come into the streets. Um, Tailwind is a good solution. Tailwind has good stuff. We support Tailwind. I mean, as in like you can write an Angular app with it. So yeah. Wait, why did the third place trophy be the one that like came down? That's messed up. They gave you the bronze. Oh, that's funny. Um, oh, cool. Front End Decoded or Decoded Front End is a good Angular YouTube channel. Do collaborate with him. Maybe, but I think we're a good Angular YouTube channel. Collaborate with me. Watch the videos we make. We do some good stuff. Well, I don't know what this means, Jeremy. Maybe. Wait, why you got that zombie body?
Is there a hint on the reacted? How the react?
Oh, I thought it said a reactive dam, not a reactive dom. I misread.
There's no hints because we don't have anything to hint about yet.
Yeah.
Like we are I think we'll talk more about this at ngconf, but like we're thinking about what the future of our like change detection / reactivity system will be like, but nothing has been decided. It is still very much in the like we're talking about it, we're thinking about it phase.
I love this. Any plans to make Angular compatible with Veet?
That is again something we've like talked about. Oh my gosh. Nothing concrete yet, but it's definitely a possibility.
Got it. Okay, let's do this. Material 3, when is it coming for Angular?
No answer on that yet. We're actively working with the material design organization inside of Google to figure out how to get something out to people. The challenge here is that what you've seen at like Google I/O is not Material 3 for web. It's what they've primarily showed is like Material U, which is the Android specific design system. And so for web, there's still actually quite a bit that needs to be figured out for the like design system. And so, we're working with material design to try to figure out how to get that out to people. But it's a long process, and doing it without like breaking any breaking changes or stuff like that is challenging. So we're actively working on it, but no ETA yet.
Excellent. And Dinesh asks, how to learn Angular from scratch? Dinesh, I have something for you. Check this out.
Oh my gosh.
We have a brand new tutorial that we just released.
Yeah.
And it comes with a code lab that you can walk through as well. So there's a written code lab that pairs with this video I just linked in the chat called Introduction to Angular. So if you search Introduction to Angular, it is a Angular team tutorial. You don't have any pitch or yaw, or is it just rotation?
So do you know what it's going to say when I get this at the hole?
No.
It's going to be a pun.
I'm looking forward to it. Wait, so somebody said something I gotta like find. Was it Rodwin? Hold on. Teapot. Ugh. Now Jessica Janik from our team would be over the moon over that one.
Oh yeah, Jessica would like this game.
Okay, here we go. Rodwin, I have not forgotten about you, friend. Mark, so how's that new course videos coming, or is Angular or is guitar practice distracting you? I actually made it, and I just linked it in the chat. I made the first version of this. There's an extended version that I'll be working more closely with Jeremy to accomplish. And yeah, but we're working on that course. Like the first version, that was like the short one. This was only 45 minutes. That's already started. It's live. Got the code lab and everything, and we're working on more stuff. So Jeremy and I will resume now that I/O is over. We'll resume our conversations. Because Jeremy tells me something that I actually try to listen to. He says, Mark, you do too much. You need to just like Slow it down. Focus at one thing at a time. Don't do everything. And so I've been listening. So I focused on IO for a while, and now we'll be able to. Not the trophy. That's hilarious. Uh, why they trying to stop you? I love it. I love this game.
I don't
It's so irreverent, but like in the best way. Soccer cup, huh? Got it. All right. Let's see. Any other? Did we say hello to Showtime with Sahas? Showtime. Let's go. Okay. Hello. Hello, Sahas. Welcome to the stream. Yeah. Doomy's right. I think the Heroes tutorial is somewhere to start from. So if you're learning Angler from scratch, you can use the Tour of Heroes on the website. It's good. It's good. Let's see. Oh, do we have any plans to implement static generation, like static site generation? Well, there's already a solution for this. There's Scully out there. Is there another solution besides Scully that you can think of, Jeremy?
Uh, not that I'm familiar with.
I think it's Scully.io. I'll put the link in the chat for Guilherme. I'll put the link in the chat. You know what game never came out, Jeremy? I don't know if you remember. There's this game that got showed in like not an IO, an E3 a while ago, and it was like kind of photorealistic, polished wood-looking characters being like chased by this like angry being, and it was like isometric view. Did you ever see that trailer?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It got announced the same time as We Happy Few. And yeah, I'm gonna put this link in the chat for you, Guilherme, which is Scully.io, which is static site generation for Angular. What? Samula, you said I don't see any significant work done on Angular DevTools browser plugin. Significant. It is amazing. It just got migrated over to work on Firefox. Now it works offline. Did you see version 14? Did you update? Because I know for a fact that team is like doing magic with that plugin. So give it a second check. And if there's something that is missing that you feel like you'd like for us to include, then you should let us know that, okay? That's the better way for us to be able to be supportive. Let us know what you think could be improved. Because significant work is definitely going into that, okay? Oh, good. Here's a great question. Now, with reactive forms being a part of the story, as you're doing like Dance Dance Revolution yoga style with the mouse pointer, what's your preferred way of assigning validators to reactive forms? In template via directives that implement the validator interface, or in the component's TypeScript code via the validate function? What's better? What's your preferred way? He didn't say what's better. He said, what's your preferred way? Oh, that's awesome. I think the software engineering here is really interesting that it took to build the mechanics in such a way that they could be reused like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really good like design. Or are you trying to like shape it like a How do you know what to do?
I don't know. I'm just kind of
Oh my,
randomly.
because that looks like some like
Oh, you know what it is? It's making the poll. Apparently, it's like you're gonna paint Starry Night, and then it's like, nope.
So DIY videos asks, why do we need to use material library if there are lots of cases to do everything from plain CSS from scratch? Because maybe you don't want to do that stuff. Material library is complete. That's a way to think about it. Don't think about it like like you have to have a hard line. Think about it as material. Angular material is complete. So you can build a fully fledged accessible application right now with that library. If you don't need the power of material, and you have a smaller application, then you could like build out your own little CSS library to get your styling together. Okay, that's the way to think about it. That's a better way to think about it for yourself. Um, let's see this, Mark. We really want JSX support for Angular so bad. I know you do. Um, I mean,
I mean,
JSX is cool.
I can tell you, like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, but I just want them to know that I hear them, right? Like I hear you, Ninja. Oh yeah, welcome back, Ninja. I recognize you. Totally recognize you.
Um, you know, we've done explorations on different template syntax in Angular, and like honestly, just JSX is not a good fit for Angular's semantics.
No, this game built as an installable progressive web app. I mean so the for this sentence, JD. You know what the hardest part is? Not the latter. This game built. That is the hard part. The installable progressive web app is ng space add space angular forward slash pwa, and then you have an installable web app right out the box. So the hard part is the building this game. Yeah. Let's see. I prefer template driven. Some people do. Listen, when you look at forms, like if I was going to build like a login screen, right, for username and password, I would do template really fast and be done with it. And then if I want to take like address data though, or like other information where types are going to be like really like important and data integrity is like super important, then I use reactive forms, specifically typed reactive forms, because look at that. Look at that turtle cheating. That's
I
what you
don't
get.
know. It just started rolling
That's what you get. That's what you get for
here.
all that.
Just ran.
Oh, look at this. Um, this is a good question. Any news about Angular being compiler being migrated to Rust? That wasn't that like just a fun project that somebody was just tinkering around with.
Yeah, that's not a real thing that's happening. I think Alex was just talking about how he was just like playing around with it as an idea. I honestly don't see this happening anytime in the near future, like 2 to 3 year time frame. And probably not Rust either. If it was going to ever be anything, it would probably be Go, because
Ooh.
Rust is not a language that's really actively used at Google. Um, that said, like a little bit of my like thinking here is
Nice.
there is
Usain
kind of
Bolt.
this,
Okay, that was clever.
yeah, there's kind of this tendency, I think, in developers to look at the performance of a program and say, oh, well, the performance of this program is what it is. And if I want to make it faster, I need to like rewrite it or use a different platform, right? Like if I have a slow Java program, well, I better just rewrite it in C++ if I want to make it faster. When in
Mm-hmm.
reality, there's a huge amount that you can do as a developer in terms of like profiling and optimization that can probably get you just as good as you would have with a rewrite, right? I've seen a couple of case studies even where people have talked about like, oh, well, you know, we rewrote this thing in Rust because we assumed it was going to be faster. And then we found out it ended up just being about the same. And if we had instead dedicated that time to like profiling and optimizing what we had in Node, we would have gotten better return on our investment.
Which leads me to a different thing. So, whenever frameworks are compared, the reason we always have the same answer of everything being great, 313 or 303 strokes. So you finished, or you just finished that section.
Maybe? I don't know. It might want me to do the extra difficulty challenges.
Run it. So when we say everything is great, it's because like I've seen large React programs be like complicated and big, like lots of problems and people are upset. And I've seen the same thing with Angular. I've seen the same thing with like other frameworks. Like the engineering practices, like the problems come no matter what you do because you have to do what Jeremy said at the end of the day. You have to profile, you have to optimize over time.
Yeah.
and you have to
Like,
improve your code. Like you just have to do that.
yeah, there's no silver bullets, right? Like there's sometimes if you want a program to be fast, you have to spend a lot of time finding all the things that are slow and not doing those things.
Right. And that's okay to do that. That's a part of engineering. And I think that we in the age of front end engineering, speed has become like this really big thing that yes, it's important, yes, it's super valuable, but the source of the speed and at what cost, right? Like has been like completely like lost because it's like, oh yeah, this is 100 times faster than this other framework. Okay, well, what have you built? What's the full use case? How's your code look? How's your dependency tree look? Right? Like you just got to keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep building. And if something is better for your use case, you should use that. I'm gonna always tell people that. Like I just gave a talk at a front end conference, and I was saying how I believe Mark believes that like the modern web is so powerful now that I don't necessarily need a cross-platform mobile solution anymore. And what I showed was things like modern browser APIs, but that ain't gonna work. I'm like, let that go. I showed like modern browser APIs like vibration that you could use right now, like with your web apps on the website. You can use vibration. So if you use it from your phone or from your tablet or anything that has a vibration or haptics motor in it, you can make it vibrate with like one line of code. And I'm just like, so if I want haptic feedback in my like web app that I install as a PWA, I have that right now. We've already had notifications. Then I showed how you can use a web API, web RTC, right? Yeah, web RTC. Is that right? Is that the right thing? I think that's right. Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I get my letters right. But you could use that to do video chat, like right now. Like that stuff's available to you. So then I start to ask the question: Is do I have to reach for a certain tool right out of the gate, or am I able to get really far with the tools that I have, and just make sure that I write like better code and like I don't know, something to think about. Oh, this is nice. I like that you got to shoot the apple off your own head. Damn tree, you just knocked that tree down, Jeremy.
This is weirdly difficult.
All right, Jeremy, we're just about at time. We can continue if you like, or we can
Uh, we can probably wrap up. Oh wow, this is a tricky one.
All right. Oh, look at that. Let's see. I think we got like 3 more comments we can have a look at real quick. Maybe we
Uh,
can give an example of where Angular has worked so well. Firebase console is Angular. That's used by millions of developers.
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of Google stuff that's built with Angular. There's Firebase, there's Google Cloud, Developer
Mm-hmm.
Console, there's Google Analytics, there's Google Domains, Messages for Web. It's all out
Mm-hmm.
there.
And then this is a good question. John White asks, you mentioned Scully. Is NG Universal still recommended for static sites? So NG Universal is for like server-side rendering.
You can so Universal can be used for static generation as well,
Okay.
right? You can run it at compile time instead of at serve time.
That's true. That's true. You can do that. That's right. Because I actually made a video about this where I showed you some of the optimizations. We were just talking about optimizations. I showed some of the optimizations that you can use with Angular Universal. I actually made a video, so it's on the Angular YouTube channel where I kind of talk about that. So you got to get in the swinging path with the ball at the right time.
Yeah.
How big is the Google Mono repo now?
Huge.
Trillions of lines of code.
But who knows?
Quadrillions.
Who could say?
Yeah. Who can say? All right, friends. I think we have had fun. I mean, I am grateful that all of you have come to hang out with us. Thank you so much for that. This was awesome. Jeremy, this was a great game choice. I'm really
Yeah, this
glad
is
that you picked
fun.
this one. I'm gonna play a game next time. I'm gonna see if I can get my Steam Deck to like connect to the like OBS and get some streaming stuff going. One thing I will say before I go, I got two book recommendations for my sci-fi and fantasy fans out there. So if you like sci-fi books or fantasy books, two book recommendations. One is called Blue Shift. It's a sci-fi book about like this crew who travels through space on a mission that will take, to like get to an exoplanet. And I cannot tell you anything else because it is a great book with some plot twists, and I just don't want to ruin any of it for you. So Blue Shift. Jeremy, definitely rock with that book. Check it out. You could probably read it in the weekend. It's very short, but it's very good. And then the one I'm on right now, I'm about halfway through, is book one of the Iron Druid Chronicles called Hounded.
Going a little old school on urban fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Have
like
you read that book before?
one of the originals. Yeah, like there's Dresden Files and Iron Druid as like I think are like some of the like foundational of like contemporary urban fantasy.
Aha.
I have not read the Iron Druid stuff.
Yeah, it's good. It's good and it's short and like, it's good. Well, it's just good. The reason I say it's short is because I don't have a lot of time. So, yeah. So I had to figure that stuff out. Jeremy, any last called out things you want to direct people's attention to before we roll out?
No, I think at this point we can just say enjoy version 14. We're working on 15, and I think it's going to be good stuff.
Okay, I want to point people to specifically, definitely check out the internationalization video that I've been promising for eons. It is done. It is live on the Angular YouTube channel. Check out the NG internationalization blog, Introduction to Internationalization. Sorry, my brain wasn't working for a second. All right, friends, we thank you so much for hanging out with us. We have had a blast. We hope that you've had a blast. We encourage you to continue to be awesome. And remember, go build great apps. We'll see you the next time.